Firestar, is that you? Ravenpaw's ears twitched as he called out for his old friend. The clan cats halted and stared at him. Every cat knew about the black-pelted Thunderclan apprentice who had been driven out by his mentor, Tigerstar. Even if they hadn't known him during his short time in the forest, many had met him on the journey to Highstones. Hello, Ravenpaw. Tallstar dipped his head in greeting. Ravenpaw! Firestar pushed through the other cats to greet his old friend. Firestar! Ravenpaw touched noses with the Thunderclan leader. He looked around. Where's Graystripe? Firestar blinked. Graystripe's not with us. Is he dead? Ravenpaw's pelt bristled with shock. Firestar shook his head. Two Legs captured him. Two Legs? Ravenpaw echoed. Why? They started trapping us. Firestar's mew was raw with grief. We've been forced to leave the forest. What? Ravenpaw lifted his nose to scent the air. Is that Windclan and Riverclan with you? And Shadowclan? The Two Legs are destroying all of our homes, Firestar explained. We would have been crushed by their monsters if we stayed. If we didn't starve first. My name is Spencer Grant, and you're listening to Fourtrees, a Warrior Cats community podcast. Last week, I was joined by my friend Zneakii to discuss the book Dawn. We talked about Sasha's characterization, we talked about the book itself, and we talked about ducks, which was actually a lot of fun, and I'm glad we did that. So, if you're interested in learning a lot about ducks, or just in that discussion in general, and you haven't heard it already, I'd suggest listening to that before listening to this one, just so you may have a better idea of what we're on about and catch any jokes or references we started in the previous episode. That was something that irritates me in like the last book. I appreciate it in the last two books that like you got an inkling of which cats like to hang out with each other, like in the series. Mm-hmm. Like every time it feels in this one, it just feels like Ferncloud is here to have children that die, and Dustpelt is here to be upset about them. And that's about it. That's about like all that we get from the outside books, aside from like. There was this one cat, I think it's like Thornclaw or something, who's basically on every single patrol for some reason.
He is the patrol cat.
He's the patrol guy?
Yeah.
But like I don't think that's intentional characterization. I think that's the Erin's being like, okay, we need to come up with like, filler cats for the patrol. All right, Mouse for Thornclaw, or something like that. And I don't know, in the last books you got like a better idea about who was hanging out with who. Like, obviously, there was Whitestorm and his wife that he never spoke to ever.
Yeah.
And, but like, Tigerclaw had his posse, Mousefur had her friends, like, even Mousefur. I don't know anything about Mousefur, but I know who she hung out with. And this book doesn't really seem to have that. Maybe because there's a slightly larger abundance of protagonist characters that we need to be paying attention to instead. But, like, it's just a little bit sad. Like, okay, Sorreltail has lost her best friend, so now the only cat she can interact with is her new love interest, Brackenfur.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like...
Which is, like, fine, I guess. Brackenfur is a good guy, but, I just... I wish
I like more developed side characters. To be fair, with writing my own stuff, I've realized that I enjoy developing the side characters more than the actual main protagonists. It's really weird.
Oh, I completely understand where you're coming from. When I was like writing my book, I kept like, I don't know, it's you come up with like a person and you come up with a voice that's just so fun that like you kind of feel bad about ditching them after a chapter. But That's the way things are sometimes. Sometimes, to be honest, I had to write like uninteresting background characters for the sake of getting myself not hung up on the background characters. I was like, okay, you can only have 3 character traits and they have to be balanced and not boring enough that I will stop caring about you the second that you get out of my sight. Because otherwise I'm going to be like, man, I wonder how that dude is doing. I bet he's in jail right now. It's pretty fun. Can you tell me more about your Reflections background characters? Because I would love to know about what it is that's enraptured you with them.
Oh, I don't know. It's like, so obviously I've got my main characters, and it's like, okay, I thought of this plot. Okay, cool. And it's like, right, so who are these characters that are going to be around them? Like, what are the leaders like? What are the medicine cats like? All of this, that, and the other. And it's just like, there was this, so StormClan's leader, Smokestar, I originally made him as like the throwaway leader that I'm not going to develop and no one really likes, because no one likes StormClan because, again, they're just Thunderclan, so we don't care about them.
Yeah.
And I've just started to develop like a story and like giving him motivations, and I'm just like, no, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not supposed to like him. No one's supposed to like him. We're all supposed to hate him. He's supposed to be just the annoying leader that like causes grief, because even though Reflections is supposed to be there are open borders and there's no fighting amongst themselves and all of that, there is still always going to be a difficult leader at some point, and it was supposed to be him, but I just feel really bad for certain things that I've thought about for his backstory and the reason he is why he is, and I'm like, no, I've humanized him too much. Now I feel guilty and now I like him. It's the same with Nettlecloud's mum, Flightstar, who dies in the prologue.
Nettlecloud
she's
is the
cat
protagonist,
that they find
right?
is dead. And I've developed her story. Yes, she is, yeah.
Okay.
So Flightstar, they find her dead. So I was like, okay, how did she die? Okay, this thing happened. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil stuff. And then it's like, but why did it happen? Why, who killed her? Why did they kill her? And what are the reasons? And I've basically just developed a whole proper backstory for Flightstar and her murderer and things like that. And I'm just like, no, I'm supposed to be focusing on the main story. I'm supposed to be doing like episode 1, but it's like, no, I want to focus on Flightstar and everything that happens about her. And I'm like, it's just, I cannot focus. It's like, it's one thing after another. Also, I've properly focused on like the founders of the clans as well. Like they've got a whole story written about them, and I'm just like, what am I doing?
That's world building. That's lore. I think that's an understated step of when you're writing a story like this. Like, I don't know, to some extent, whenever I'm writing a character, I have to like know, if not who their parents are, who their parental figures are. Like, I don't know if it feels like such a bullshit thing to say, because like whenever, I don't know, if somebody, I'm not like a master psychology expert or anything like that. If somebody were to tell me about their childhood, I would not know what to glean about them as a person from the things that they talk about, generally speaking. But I feel like it's a very different thing for like characters. When I wrote my book, I had a really strong idea about what the generation before these main characters did and what they went through, because that's like a part of, first of all, setting up the setting of the story, and second of all, setting up the mentor characters and setting up, these people that are going to be teaching these individuals what they know. I think an important part of understanding, if not the family dynamic, but a found family dynamic, is realizing that like parents will generally do everything that they can to avoid passing on the mistakes that led them to the traumas that they experienced, but they will end up passing on the traumas themselves in some way. And sometimes that meant like going back another generation for my main characters. I don't know to any extent if I'll ever finish up my book series, because I have other things to focus on right now. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about in it was this idea of inherited trauma. And the protagonists, like, basically it's found family all the way down. The protagonist has an adopted father, and that adopted father has an adopted father, and that adopted father was driven out of a place for being gay. And then, he passes on that trauma to the adopted son, and the adopted son, to some extent, struggles with his own stuff and interpolates and has his own trauma that he ends up passing on to our protagonist. And I think that, like, you shouldn't be beating yourself up for coming up with these important kinds of details to these characters. Like, I think Flightstar is going to end up being very important in this story, if not because of the role she plays as the mother, then the role that she plays as the starting gun, you know, the thing that sets everything in motion, and the impact that she had on the world when she was alive.
Oh, thank you. I really needed to hear that, actually.
It's world building. Call it world building. You know, and enjoy fleshing out your parents.
I just get distracted with doing that. Yeah.
I totally know what you feel like. I think whenever I was like doing my writing stuff, I was like, man, it would be really nice to like tell a story somewhere else in this world. Like, does it have to be on this boat with these children? It does. If I'd start, I think honestly, like opening up reflections and saying it's a community project and letting other people in is a very smart way of going about doing that, and I commend you for that. Well and truly. That's like a way of getting other people to do the backstory, which is a way of getting you to focus on the main story, which is clever. Very not saying that, not implying any like subterfuge or anything like that. I just think that's like a really good way of, first of all, getting people invested in your world, and second of all, giving you an easier way to focus on what's important, which is the primary story here. Sorry, let's get back to the book.
Cool.
It's been so long since I've talked about my book. I jump at any opportunity, I guess.
That's okay.
So I want to talk a little bit about the various kit deaths that carry on through this book, like what was it? Ferncloud loses 2 or 3 kits in this book, and they're of no import because we don't know anything about Ferncloud or her kits aside from the fact that she's mates with Dustpelt, and Dustpelt was a vague antagonist to some. He was like a bully, but that's like he's reformed now. He's a senior warrior or whatever. And then there was Smokepaw, who dies on the journey. Is there any like
I just felt so bad for Smokepaw because it was really sad. So we sort of introduced, I can't remember if Smokepaw was in the previous 2 books from the New Prophecy, but basically we're sort of introduced to the idea of Smokepaw when Shadowclan's camp is getting absolutely ripped apart, and it's really like, it's really horrible seeing. And then suddenly Smokepaw, who we've only literally read his name for like 2 seconds, ends up falling from the mountains whilst the cats are traveling up the mountains, and that scene was absolutely soul crushing to me. When I first read that, I was really, really scared. It was one of those things because I'm really scared of heights and I'm really scared of falling. It was something, as when I was a lot younger, I was never bothered about, but it's the thought of falling, like thinking about stuff and working myself up. So for me, him dying in that way really, it just not resonated with me, but I just sort of really felt it, and I was like, this character that I don't know, that I have no investment in, the way that he's just died, it's really shaken me quite a bit. And as well with Nightwing, poor Nightwing, who is again a cat that is only mentioned and seen in Dawn, is like refusing to leave. Like, I can't remember if she actually does leave or not. If they say that she leaves, to be honest, I headcanon her as like just staying in that area because she says that she wants to stay because maybe he's still alive. And it's that sort of hysteria, and just it's really, really sad. And again, it just kind of made me feel really, really sad. And I was just like, these characters that I know nothing about, I really, really feel for them.
Well, now I feel like a psychopath for having such a like jaded reaction to it. I was like, it's not a main character, I don't care. Let me know when Cloudtail falls off a cliff or something like that. But
exactly,
no.
But again, it's for me because I'm so like nervous about heights and things, especially up cliffs and mountains and stuff, and a big black bottomless pit that's really, really scary. And the fact that you don't know if he's dead or not, he's obviously dead, but it's just not, the body's not seen, you don't hear a thud, nothing like that. It's just the endless nothingness, and the maybe he's still alive, but definitely not.
It's a good character moment for a cat that we never know anything about ever again, really. It's a shame.
Exactly. Yeah. For me, I'll say that the biggest thing that like really scares me is the ocean, because that in itself to me is a bottomless pit. It's obviously not, but it's just so vast. Like if you're just in the middle of the ocean, you're stuck and you can see nothing around you but water and waves. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't used to be scared of it, but when I was younger, I got dragged under by some waves, and it was the first sort of moment of, oh my God, I think I'm gonna die. Like, I feel like I'm drowning right now. And it was really scary. And I was just like, so it's sort of just become a fear because of that. But I was really close to the shore still. And it was a really shallow bit, but because the waves were so powerful, they were pummeling me. And I'm a really strong swimmer, I'm not gonna lie. I love swimming, it's one of my favorite things to do. Okay. But because I couldn't even get out of that situation, and because it was such a shock, I was just so surprised. But anyway, that's that.
Do you still have like issues with nature documentaries or anything like that, or
no,
can you
actually,
go to aquariums?
If aquariums are fine, if you're under the water, it's fine. So like things like that, I don't mind. It's if you're on the surface and you just look and all you can see is waves like gently bobbing about, and it's the dark blue, like navy blue water, and there's no sort of boats around, no landscape around, it's literally just water. I've never actually been in that situation before, but I have had like dreams where I have been, and it's just kind of like really, really scary, and just how icy cold it is as well. It's not fun.
Thank you for sharing. I don't know how to interact with it. Honestly, like the thing that you have described sounds like the opposite kind of dream for me. I really love the ocean. I'm very keen on jellyfish. I don't know how much I've spoken. Yeah, jellyfish. You ever heard of these guys? They're like. But like, no, I just sea creatures in general, I think are really fascinating to me. I have a membership to the Bristol Aquarium. I like used to visit every week. And then lockdown happened, so I can't go and visit now. But like, I took pictures of every exhibit, and sometimes I'll like, scroll through and be like, yes, this is Kevin, the parrotfish. Kevin was kicked out of some of the other. No, it was Dave. Sorry, his name was Dave. Dave was this triggerfish that lives in the big tank in the Bristol Aquarium, or one of the big tanks at the Bristol Aquarium, and he was kicked out of another aquarium because he kept biting the other fish. He was just so naughty that they could not have him there, so they brought him over to Bristol. They put him in a bigger thing with more enrichment, because generally the triggerfish will tend to be more bitey if their thing is too small. If they don't have enough things to entertain them, they'll just start gnawing on things. Because that's how fish like that be. But like, yeah, I personally, I can't like get enough of the ocean. I understand how some people can't though, and you genuinely have my condolences that you have a fear like that, because I can think of nothing more enjoyable than to just be me in the sea.
Yeah, I love, like I say, I've always wanted to go scuba diving just to have a look, especially like on the coral reefs and stuff like that. Yeah. And I love dolphins and sort of any like mammals like that. I think they're really cool, but yeah, like I say, just the big blue, not a big fan of it, if I'm going to be honest. But it's mainly if it's like sunny and the sky's sort of clear, I think it's okay, but I always just imagine it being so dull and grey and just depressing.
Well, that's from you growing up in England. What you got to do is get out to the Mediterranean sometimes. It's absolutely phenomenal.
I've always wanted to. That's like one of the places I really want to go.
The Mediterranean has some really cool biodiversity. There's there are white sharks in the Mediterranean for some reason. The leading theory is a very long time ago, a bunch of pregnant white sharks got lost and they ended up in the Mediterranean, and now there's just a population of great whites in the Mediterranean, and I think that's just so cool because they're not supposed to be endemic in that area, or at least they wouldn't normally be. They are endemic for about as long as humans are. Sharks are older than like trees.
Wow.
And that weirds me out. I'm sorry, I'm getting like really into wildlife.
I didn't realize that. No.
Sharks are super old. Like, I think, chordates in general are, in my opinion, not that exciting. But like when you compare the age of certain chordates, like there are these lobsters that have been around for longer than we've had like anything on land, basically. Like plants didn't really happen for a while, and we had a lot of life in the sea before any of plants happened, really, which I think is super cool. And there's just some like bony fish and cephalopods that are like ancient. And there's this great series on UK Netflix called Walking with Dinosaurs or something like that. And I unabashedly adore it. It's so good. I never like got it growing up, and like I'll watch these things. It's like basically, it's a really, really skilled VFX team that is just like working at their maximum capacity to make it look like there is a Steve Irwin type presenter show where he's like going into the past and interacting with these actual, things that used to exist. And they have like scientists consulting on it and stuff. And it's like really cool. And there was this, episode about sea monsters and the 7 most dangerous seas in all of history or whatever. And I cannot get enough of that. Sorry, did I offend you with that accent? I'll try harder next time.
Oh, that sounds really cool, though. I'm surprised I've not watched it because I used to love, I still do love, like, dinosaurs and everything like that. But I was a crazy, crazy dinosaur kid. Mm-hmm. Like, anything dinosaur, I'd have books about it. I loved the Jurassic Park films, although they annoyed me because they weren't scientifically accurate. And me as a 12-year-old being like... the films aren't like proper accurate and blah blah blah, and it's just like shush, Zneakii.
Didn't have any feathers. I understand. I get that way sometimes when I'm like watching. I don't know. Their creature features will sometimes like take artistic liberties with the animals that they represent. Like anything about piranhas, I'm like, all right, you better have some dang good. Basically, the reason I watch creature features now is to like watch the bit at the end where they come up with a creative way to kill it. Because that is basically the most creativity that goes into the film. And scientific accuracy is something that I'm willing to waylay for a little while. But if it gets egregious, I'll be like, all right, that's enough. I'm turning off, Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus starring Debbie Gibson and Tiffany. I've had enough. Do you ever watch any of those like Sci-Fi Channel original movies or anything like that? Because those are just
I don't really watch TV much.
And stuff.
No,
we should talk about the book.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so there's this guy Firestar in this book. You mentioned something about the tree that crushed him.
Oh yes, of course. So this was it's more about like One Whisker actually. Mm-hmm. So obviously again, don't want to spoil anything, but this is sort of something that makes me laugh quite a lot. This scene with Firestar like basically kicking One Whisker out of the way to save his life. So and then he obviously gets crushed by a tree. Mm-hmm. And it's like
that was pretty funny.
Horrible. No.
I like the part where he died. I think that was really cool.
I just mean for like future stuff with what happens. Again, I don't know how far you are, and like I say, I won't spoil anything. But it's just how his and One Whisker's relationship changes is very interesting. Okay. And for me, what happens now is a very like, oh, see, great, that's what a great friend would do. He would save his other friend. He'd sacrifice one of his lives when he has plenty to spare to kick him out the way and save him. All good. And then you just, I mean, again, people that have read further on, they will know what ends up happening. And it's just like, he really does forget how well Firestar treated him. It's just quite interesting. But anyway, that's basically all I wanted to say on that situation.
These cats have like a 2-second attention span.
I know. It's just... Yeah,
Like,
it's just silly.
Riverclan should still honestly be thanking Firestar and Graystripe for, like, you know, feeding them when they couldn't feed themselves. But no, apparently we don't owe you anything. Okay, whatever.
Exactly. I know that's another thing that really annoys me with, again, like, how the clans bicker. It's like, you do realise that, like, we just helped you so much only a few months ago. We basically saved all of your lives a few moons ago, and now you're treating us like we're the devil. Okay, that's amazing. Thanks.
I think, like, I don't know, I would be less willing... I'd be more willing to forgive it if these books took place on a longer time scale. Like, if it was like, oh yeah, remember 2 years ago when Thunderclan saved you? Like, okay, that would have been 2 years ago. That would be like, you can't be using that as a political football. But like, genuinely, things don't happen fast enough for 2 months to be an insignificant amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, the prophecy cats were gone for 4 months. Like, that's a lot. You know, we can't still be licking our wounds from from Brambleclaw going missing, but then, you know, also being like, that only happened, you know, like 6 weeks ago. That's ridiculous. We're not going to help you, or something like that. So what did you want to say about Graystripe then?
Oh, poor Graystripe. Oh, my heart. Again, I was saying before,
did something happen?
No. Well, just what happens is, like, obviously him getting captured by the two legs.
Oh my god, he got captured?
Wait, what?
By the two legs? Oh man, this sucks. Okay. Whew.
Oh my god.
Poor Graystripe.
Anyway, so obviously Graystripe getting captured by the two legs. For me, that was a massive, like, oh my god, because I knew this happened already before I read the book. I knew this was going to happen. And because of, like, the Warriors, like, AMVs on YouTube and, like, things like that, it had been spoilt for me already when I was younger, and I knew it was going to happen. Yet when I read that book, I cried so many tears. That was the first book I ever cried at, and I was just like, oh my god, poor Graystripe. And
this
I knew
was because
he was fine.
Bluestar's prophecy hadn't come out at this point, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I've still not read Bluestar's prophecy.
Ooh.
I think it had come out though. It had come out at that point because I remember watching AMVs about it, and I really, really wanted it, but my mum wouldn't let me she wouldn't buy the book for me, and I was just like, no, because Bluestar was my favourite character for so long back then. I now look at her and go, I know a lot of bad stuff's happened in your life, but damn, you were really horrible to a lot of people. But it's just really, really crazy reading it now, being like, oh yeah. But yeah, Graystripe, like, because I love Bright Heart so much. I've always loved Bright Heart. So obviously him rescuing her is like a big, like, oh, amazing. But again, I knew he was fine. I knew he would be okay. Because as well, in the books, obviously at the back of the books, they have, like, the mangas that you can buy or that are coming out, etc. And there was this thing of Graystripe and Millie, and I'm like, who the heck is Millie? And then it's like, well, obviously Graystripe's alive and he's fine, and, like, it's like, why is there a picture of them on a boat? I don't understand. Because again, I've still not read any of the mangas aside from the Rise of Scourge and A Shadow and Riverclan. So I still don't really know 100% what happened. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of rambling and not really making much sense.
By all means. This is what we do here.
Oh yeah. But yeah, just for me, Graystripe getting captured, I knew it was going to happen. Started crying anyway. I knew he was fine. I still cried, and it still made me feel quite a lot. I just felt that was a really intense moment, and I just felt so bad for Firestar, especially obviously with him having to say goodbye to Ravenpaw as well. It's like his two best friends are both gone now. He's just all alone, although now he has lovely Sunstorm.
And his ghost wife, Spotted Leaf.
Oh god, leave us alone, Spotted Leaf, please.
I'd normally say there was like this passage in the book where Firestar was like, he was looking at Leafpaw and he's like, I wish you could have known Spotted Leaf. You remind me of her. And I was like, you talked literally twice. But then like I realized, Normally I'd say that Firestar is projecting his own feelings onto Spotted Leaf, but the fact that he's spoken to her so many times after her death kind of negates that. And at this point, I have to accept, whether I like it or not, that it is an inalienable truth that Spotted Leaf apparently had feelings for Firestar.
Well, yeah, and it was just kind of like, as a kid, I thought, okay, that's fine. But obviously, you look at it now and realize that, I mean, I know cats' age gaps are kind of like...
Yeah, I've decided to stop letting the age differences bother me because of, like, how cats work. By the time you're an apprentice, you're basically an adult. Like, an apprentice is college, basically. Yeah. That's just how things have to be.
No, yeah, biologically, yeah, it is literally that. I think the problem is it's when they're depicted as apprentices to be quite young still, especially like with Rusty, like going into the forest and stuff. I was going to say something about Spotted Leaf. Oh yeah, so I saw someone posted on Twitter, I'm really sorry, I can't remember who it was, that they had a headcanon that the reason Spotted Leaf is so sort of in Firestar's life still as she's dead and things like that is because they see her as more of like a mentor, someone that really, really cared about Fireheart and had a massive connection to him because he was this prophecy that she had been told about. So it's because of the prophecy she has this connection with him. I thought that was really clever because it sort of gets away that weird romantic bit. Like, I completely get, like, Fireheart, whatever, having a crush on Spotted Leaf because it happens. Like, it happens in the real world that young teens and stuff like that end up having crushes on mentors.
Oh my god, if I had $1 for every goth YMCA leader I had a crush on as a kid, I would be going to heck.
Exactly. So I think it being displayed as Firepaw having a little crush on Spotted Leaf but her actually not having any romantic feelings, her just having this special connection with him because again it's the prophecy situation. I think that's a better way sort of to have it depicted. So I like to think of that headcanon as being true since I saw that.
I've been thinking, I think that like the way that I've made it not awful in my brain is coming down to like the idea that Spotted Leaf and Firestar are basically using each other in different ways. And like Firestar is kind of projecting his platonic ideal of a mate onto the first cat that he had a crush on, aside from Graystripe. And Spotted Leaf is projecting hers onto a cat that she realizes after death is obsessed with her. And I think like maybe to Spotted Leaf, it's a way of trying to reconcile the fact that she never got to be a warrior and, you know, never had those opportunities. She can like look at Firestar and watch him grow and say, if I was a warrior, this is who I would be. I would be a fierce leader. I would do everything right. You know, these are the decisions I would make. And she just misinterprets those feelings as romantic.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, actually.
My opinion anyways. Like, I think that we a lot of I don't want to sound like a contractualist or like one of those, you know, Thomas Hobbes stands, but I do think that like quite a lot of what we do as people is you know, using each other just in different ways. Like Firestar wants this thing that he's not getting in his life, and these two are being able to find this way to fulfill these needs in each other. Is it healthy? Absolutely not. I don't think they should be doing it. But like the book is presenting me with this, and this is a preferable alternative to the idea that these two are star-crossed lovers, you know, that whatever.
Yeah. Feels so bad for Sandstorm though. It just really annoys me, that whole thing, because I love Sandstorm. Like, I love the sort of the like they don't get along at first and then they like fall for each other and things like that. It's I'm a bit of a sucker for that, not gonna lie. So I don't know, it's just really sucks for her. She's such a strong independent woman, and really I don't think she does need no man. She definitely doesn't need Firestar, and it just really frustrates me that Firestar still had this weird sort of connection with Spotted Leaf, like, and because have you read Firestar's Quest?
Yes, we covered that with my friend Clayton.
Okay, yeah, so I haven't actually read that one, but doesn't Sandstorm sort of confront him about that in that book?
So the book is basically supposed to be a treatise where they're like, the Erins are like, oh, hey, we didn't actually like have any build up to their relationship, and there's still the spotted leaf problem, so we should probably take care of that. And so that book is kind of like there's cat fighting, there is infighting between Firestar and Sandstorm as they try to figure out both the clan and their relationship. And in the end, naming Leafkit was Sandstorm's decision. So that's supposed to like signify that she's come to peace with the relationship between Firestar and Spotted Leaf. But personally, I do also feel very sorry for her.
Yeah.
I just also I'm in my head canon. I think that Firestar is bi, and I think that he does not realize that he has an attraction towards Graystripe, and he just thinks that it's friendship because there are no good role models for him to model that off of.
Yeah.
So I think that Sandstorm is just placed in this very unfortunate position where she is the compulsory heterosexual partner to a guy who isn't really that interested. And I feel bad for her too. This poor she deserves so much better.
Yeah, definitely. See, we need canon LGBT cats, please. I beg for that, because it's just getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
The heterosexuality in warrior cats is so forced most of the time as well. Like, you'll see again with Leafpaw.
The closest we really get is, I think, Ravenpaw and Barley, right?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure they're basic. They are canon. Come on, let's face it.
They're
It's
Boston
kind of
married at the
obvious.
very least. All right, and I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of Fourtrees. Thank you so much for listening to Fourtrees. That is our Warrior Cats community podcast. I've been your host, Spencer Grant. I'd like to thank our guest, Zneakii, for joining us for the last little while. You have been an absolute pleasure to have. Fourtrees is recorded live in front of a studio audience at Druids Hollow Studios here in Bristol. Our theme was composed and performed by Spencer Chopin Grant and mixed by Alex Turner. Our graphics and 3D assets were designed by Spencer Diablo Grant, and our editor is Spencer Pagliacci Grant. The Warrior Cats series is written by Erin Hunter and distributed by HarperCollins. Please support the official release. You can find us at the web at spencergrant.co.uk/Fourtrees or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find our YouTube uploads with auto-generated subtitles and audio visualizations at youtube.com/SpencerGrant. Again, I've been Spencer, and you have been beautiful. Bye!